Hello everyone, welcome to Ask Wardee. I have here a bottle of MCT oil. MCT oil we've recently talked about at Traditional Cooking School by Gnaufglens because it can help with energy, it can help with weight loss, fat loss, and more. So if we've convinced you, or maybe today I'll convince you to try it, there's only one thing left to do, and that is decide which one to buy, which can be very confusing because there's organic, not organic, non-GMO, others are silent on that. They contain different MCTs, which is another way of saying medium chain triglycerides or medium chain fatty acids. There's 4 different ones, and every MCT oil might have a different combination. There's the bottle it comes in, there's the price. Anyway, it can be confusing. So today I'm going to help you decide which MCT oil to buy. All right? We will get to that shortly. First, let me welcome you to Ask Wardee, which is the weekly show where I answer your questions about traditional cooking, things like this. And we're doing it live, but no matter if you're live or later, the transcript is ready for you right now at askwardee.tv. Just look for episode 82, or the best MCT oil is what it's called. So you can read along or come back to it later. If you're live on Periscope or Facebook, welcome. I'm so thrilled you made it for another live show. It's wonderful to have you there. And if you're on Facebook, Millie is there in the comments, pasting links, answering your questions. If you are live, please do share your first name, where you're from, and what you're sipping on. Today I've got apple cider vinegar and water. Kind of hooked on it lately. I find it so refreshing, cleansing, and I'm really convinced of its benefits to help with digestion. So I've been committed to drinking it, and I've been sipping on it all day for a couple weeks. I feel great. Anyway, please do share what you're sipping on. And remember, the show notes are ready for you, askwardee.tv. No matter if you're checking this out live or later, though, I'd love it if you'd like, subscribe, or share. If you feel like this would be interesting to your friends and family, and be sure to bookmark it for later, okay? All right, so let's get into it. This is a question from Dawn M., who actually asked last week's question as well. They were different. Last week's question was coconut milk, which coconut milk to buy. And she also asked which fractionated coconut oil to buy, aka MCT oil. I didn't want to answer those in the same Ask Wardee because they're different. So again, we're addressing Dawn M's question of which fractionated coconut oil to buy, aka MCT oil. She basically just said, what is the best one to buy? I use it for cooking as well. Thanks so much for all the wonderful information. So Dawn, let's cover it today. We have a couple just basics to cover first for listeners who may not be familiar with MCT oil. I'm going to give you a quick explanation of what it is. And this comes from my friend Megan, who's a contributing writer to our site. She did an article explaining the great benefits of MCT oil. So this is just going to be a quick summary to get us on the same page. So MCTs are medium chain triglycerides. It's a unique kind of saturated fat that's often missing from our diets. Because the fatty acids in MCTs are relatively short, MCTs are easier to digest than their more common counterpart, LCTs, which MCTs is short, right? Or I should say medium chain triglycerides. So guess what LCT is? Long chain triglycerides. After the consumption, the body breaks down the medium chain triglycerides into their component fatty acids, then sends these fatty acids directly to the liver. There they are burned as fuel immediately instead of being stored as fat. So medium chain triglycerides, a special kind of saturated fat that goes directly to the liver and is stored as fat, is burned as fuel instead of stored as fat. Pretty awesome, huh? Which leads me into the benefits, which energy, weight loss, I think you can get that from the description I just gave you. Here's a summary, and I have a link for you at askwardee.tv, or Millie's pasting it on Facebook, to the complete article by Megan that goes into how MCTs can help you with thyroid, belly fat, energy, and more. Here's a quick summary of the benefits. MCTs are easier to digest than other fats. They're burned as fuel rather than stored as fats. Increased metabolism, potential weight loss, increase in brain and body energy, They're potentially helpful with insulin resistance. In fact, this is something new I just discovered recently. MCTs can escort sugar into the cells without insulin. And for a source on this, I've got a link for you at askwardee.tv, this episode notes. There's a video that's on Facebook by Dr. Tom O'Brien, and you just want to go to minute 22. In fact, the whole video is awesome because it's Dr. Tom O'Brien and Wellness Mama and Robin from Green Smoothie Girl, and they're discussing the recent thing that went around about coconut oil is bad, and they're addressing that and talking about why, no, coconut oil is still good. It has been all along, and just ignore the recent stuff. Anyway, at minute 22, Dr. Tom O'Brien mentioned this thing about MCTs and coconut oil, that they can escort sugar into the cells without insulin. I thought it was fascinating. So just go to that video if you want to hear more about that. It's very quick though. There's not a lot of information. And boost thyroid function. So that's a summary of the benefits of the MCTs, medium chain triglycerides, that are concentrated in this MCT oil. So where can you get MCT oil? And Dawn will get to the best ones in just a moment. So medium chain triglycerides, that unique saturated fat, is found in certain whole foods like coconut and palm. So if you have coconut oil, the thing with it is that over 50% of coconut oil is actually a fatty acid called lauric acid. And some people consider it to be a medium chain triglyceride, but it's actually on the long side. It spends more time in the liver. It's not immediately converted into fuel. It has wonderful benefits though. It's just not the benefits we're discussing now. So you can consume coconut oil and get medium chain triglycerides, but over 50% are going to be this lauric acid that's actually on the longer side and doesn't do the benefits that we're discussing now. So that's why you'll find MCT oil on the market where the shorter MCTs in coconut, in palm, have been extracted and concentrated into an oil that is all MCTs and not the others, if that makes sense, because they do occur in coconut and palm, but in such small quantities that if you really want to supplement MCTs in your diet, then we've got them extracted into special MCT oils. Does that make sense, everyone? So that's what MCT oil is. It's where the shortest MCTs are extracted and concentrated into MCT oil. As you can see, it's liquid. It doesn't solidify at cooler house temperatures like you might find your coconut oil does. It also is odorless, pretty tasteless, so it doesn't have the coconut flavor. It actually usually comes in opaque bottles, but I put it in a clear glass bottle today just so you could see how just pure and light colored it is. This is MCT oil. It's often used in personal care products, like if you've ever seen recipes for homemade essential oil blends, or you're told to take your essential oils and don't put them directly on your skin, but combine them with a carrier oil first to dilute them. Often, fractionated coconut oil, MCT oil, is recommended as the carrier. It also can be used in cooking or baking, and a lot of people use MCTs like in their coffee or their smoothies for that energy burst. And all the health benefits that we're talking about. So that is MCT oil, and that's why we have MCT oil. It is so we can extract and concentrate the medium chain triglycerides that are in coconut and palm oil, but not as abundant as we might like. Make sense, everyone? Okay, so maybe now you're convinced to give it a try. If you're not, that's okay. I mean, go ahead and eat your coconut oil abundantly, or use it a lot, and you'll get MCTs. But if you would like to have more, that's where, like Dawn, or like other families like us, have decided we would like to use MCT oil like in our smoothies regularly. So where do we get it? So I recently had to go through several hours of research, actually, because like I mentioned at the top of the hour, you look for MCT oil, but there's organic or not organic, there's non-GMO or doesn't say anything about it, there's the bottle that it's in, there's which MCTs are in it. There's actually 4 of them, and one of them is the lauric acid that is not quite as beneficial as an MCT. The benefits we're discussing now, but it's wonderful on its own. So you have to wade through all these things to decide which MCT oil to buy. Oh, and there's price. So I'm going to go through my qualifications of what I look for and what the conclusions I have drawn to source MCT oil for our family. And I'm also at the very end going to recommend 2 that I know of that fit my qualifications. Okay? Definitely look forward to your input. You can go to askwardee.tv, look for this episode, and you can put a comment there if you found a source that you love. And if it fits with my qualifications, great. If it doesn't, you can say, I like this one and we chose it even though, and explain your perspective. I'd love to hear it. So the first thing that I look for in MCT oil is the source, okay? Because you shop for MCT oil and in the fine print or in the description, they're going to say where it comes from, what whole food it comes from. And so you've got coconut and or palm, okay? Palm is less expensive and it's often not sustainably harvested. In fact, in recent years, a lot of people are boycotting palm oil and palm products because of the extreme devastation to wildlife and forests that happen due to unsustainable palm farming practices on really huge industrial farms. So people boycott palm. But MCTs come from coconut or palm oil or palm foods. And so when you're shopping, you can choose to do an MCT oil that is coconut only derived, or you can choose one that is coconut or palm. And in my opinion, if you're going to choose one that's coconut or palm, that you look for proof that it's sustainable farms, so that if it's palm, which if they say coconut or palm, my understanding is it most often is palm because it's less expensive to produce. But look for ones that have proof that it's sustainably farmed, okay? So for me, the source is an MCT oil that is coconut only is wonderful, or if it's coconut or palm, that there's proof that it's sustainably harvested. So you know that you're not contributing to devastating farming practices, okay? That's my criteria number 1. My criteria number 2 is you want to look for organic and non-GMO. Now, here's a caveat. Kristen pointed out in last week's episode where I'm talking about which coconut milk to buy, she pointed out, I'll just read it to you. She said, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my uneducated assumption is that coconut trees tend to be more naturally cultivated rather than needing lots of pesticides and such. So they're probably fairly clean, even if they're not certified organic. What do you think? And I thought it was a great point to make. I looked it up, and I think Kristen's generally true. If you look at a list of the foods that are the most polluted by pesticides and non-organic farming practices, coconut does not top the list. Coconut is actually one of the foods that if you can't afford organic, conventional is probably okay. It also has that really thick outer skin, so even if there was pesticides involved in farming, the inside of the coconut, where the meat and water and oil is probably not polluted to the same degree as like you might find on a soft-skinned fruit like strawberry or banana. So I could go either way on organic. I prefer to source organic because I feel like it's our family's way of putting our food dollars behind farms that are doing things right and committed to that. But if you can't afford it, or if we couldn't afford it, I feel like organic could be a good compromise to make, okay? Genetically modified though, on the GMO issue, coconut doesn't top the list of genetically modified foods for sale currently, but genetically modified is a non-negotiable in my opinion, because if it's genetically modified, it's a no-go, and that's a whole other issue. We're convinced that genetically modified is awful, so it's not a compromise we're willing to make. So for this qualification regarding organic and non-GMO is choose organic and non-GMO if possible. If you need to compromise on the organic, but always make sure to ensure that your foods are not genetically modified. Okay, so that's quality number 2. Number 3 is which MCTs, which medium chain triglycerides does your MCT oil contain? As I said earlier, there's actually 4. One of them is lauric acid, and it's actually a longer medium chain triglyceride that spends more time in the liver, is not immediately converted to fuel. It has fantastic health benefits, but not the ones we're discussing today. So in terms of MCTs, which is the whole point of MCT oil, the shortest ones are going to be the ones that deliver the benefits. So that's why you want to look, and why most people purchase their MCT oil are actually looking that they contain the shortest only and not the longest, okay? The 2 shortest are called caprylic acid and capric acid, and that's actually what this one is. It contains caprylic and capric acid only. It doesn't have the lauric acid, and I don't remember what the third one is. And when you're out shopping for MCT oil, you'll see in the description or on the nutrition label which ones it contains. And so just look. And in my opinion, here's what the kind of things that I wrestled with. So if lauric acid is in there, it's not that lauric acid is bad. It's just that lauric acid is abundant in coconut oil, whole coconut oil, which is much less expensive. So I'd prefer to spend the money that I'm going to spend on MCT oil on shorter MCTs rather than have lauric acid in there. I just get the lauric acid from the coconut oil, and I have the MCTs have the shortest, which is caprylic and capric acid. There's also others out there, like there's a MCT oil that's from Bulletproof that contains just one of the shortest, and it's much more expensive. So you're kind of weighing price here. Price really comes into it. Price is the reason I don't want it to contain lauric acid, because I can get lauric acid elsewhere. And price is the reason I don't get the one that's just the shortest, because it's so much more expensive. I get the one with the 2 shortest, if that makes sense, okay? And I've got links for you to these at askwardee.tv, or Millie is pasting in the comments on Facebook Live. So that's really what I go through. And I probably could add 2 more things. One would be the container, but generally they come in BPA-free and or glass opaque containers. So just check that. And the final thing I might add is price, but price is coming into all of these. It's like the final thing. When you get your list at the end and you say, well, these 4 would work for me, and then you go with price, right? Okay, so my picks, we've actually tried quite a few brands of MCTs. And when I just look at all of them out there and all the research that I've done, and I consider my qualifications, the source, organic, non-GMO, and which MCTs they contain, which of the 4 they actually contain, I've come down to 2 picks, okay? And I've got pictures for you here. This is the XCT oil from Bulletproof. You've probably heard of Bulletproof coffee. Well, this is, I think, $29.95 for 32 ounces. And it has all the qualifications I met, or I just shared with you. It has all of them, including it's organic. My other choice is Wild MCT, and I think it's like $32.95 on Amazon. There's a link at askwardee.tv with this episode. And this one meets all of the qualifications as well, except organic, but they have some interesting information about how it's sustainably harvested and such, so you can have confidence even though it's not labeled organic. And it comes in a glass, an opaque glass container, while the Bulletproof comes in a BPA-free plastic container. So those are my 2 picks, and you'll find links to them at askwardee.tv. And I just want to say one more thing. So the ones that we purchase have the 2 shortest MCTs, and what we do every day is we have some MCT oil, like in smoothie or beverages, and we also have to use plenty of coconut oil in baking or frying eggs or whatnot. So we get all the great benefits of lauric acid through the coconut oil, but we spend our money on the more expensive MCTs that does not contain lauric acid because we're getting it elsewhere. Hopefully that all makes sense. Dawn mentioned in her original question that she uses fractionated coconut oil, MCT oil, for baking as well as all her personal care products, and we do too. So the one that I choose for us to consume is the one that I also use in personal care products. So because if it's going on your skin is an organ, it's just like you're eating it. It needs to be the best food possible on your skin or in your mouth. So I go through the same hoops, if you will, to choose an MCT oil. for eating as for personal care, and it just makes it easy. I pick the one that we would eat, and then I use it in essential oil blends and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up by reminding you all to check out the links at askwardee.tv if you want to follow to any of these products that I've recommended, or bookmark or share the information on how to choose the best MCT oil. If you haven't yet already, please grab my free traditional cooking video series. We're all about traditional cooking here, and whether it's coconut oil or whole grains, or how to prepare your nuts and seeds, or how to work with the whole foods you have in your pantry, I have a great video series to show you more about the ins and outs of traditional cooking that way. It's at tradcookschool.com/freevids, where freevids is all one word, FREEVIDS. Grab that if you haven't already and get a free introduction to traditional cooking school. And boy, we're at the end of another episode. Thank you all so much for joining me. I love your questions, so you can submit them by emailing me at Wardee, WARDEE, at askwardee.tv, and I'll put it in the queue, and I look forward to answering them. And please come back next week, same time, same place. We meet at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. You can join live, or always check out the archives later at askwardee.tv. All right, thank you all so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.